I'll show you 3 mirrors phases that quadrupled my close rate and how you can start using them too. And better yet, I'll show you how with identity alignment, you can start wrapping up any call within 15 minutes and zero objections. Take Ja Rule, for example. He was making 3 or 4K a month, barely scraping by, really inconsistent sales process. And in just his first 5 days applying these, he was able to make 4.3K commission in just a week. And what I'm going to do for you now is let's walk through identity alignment so you can see what that actually looks like. People buy when they feel understood first. So let's blanket that. But the easiest thing we can do is we can apply labels to people to make them identify with who we want them to identify with. That's the point of identity alignment. And what that means is the identity alignment, all it means is they identify as a person who is going to take action or do something, or they're transitioning into a different phase. They're transitioning into a different being. So, example of this. Let's say a woman came to a sales call to lose weight. Is we would say, I love working with women who are making that transition from only focusing on others, their kids, their husband, to actually taking time to not only commit to themselves, but actions every single day to commit to themselves as well. Is this the start of that transition for you? Something like that. And what that is we lead with a label. I love working with women, and the love part is really, really important. I really like. If you say like, then you just have to put more emphasis on the like. But when you do this, it quite simply allows things to deepen. No one's going to say, oh, yeah, I mean, it's not the start of that transition for me. I mean, after you do that, then you get a mini commitment from them. And what that mini commitment is you saying, is this the start of that transition for you? Are you at a point where you're ready to start focusing on yourself? What it does is it allows them to, one, fall into a consistency bias where they have to perform as this person now that they said they wanted to be. And it just opens things up for a lot more clear and honest of a conversation, just because it's a lot harder to wiggle around these things now that you've identified as a person who aligns with you're going to make time for it and you're making commitments for yourself. This is a phase that completely shifts people out of fence mode, if that makes sense. You're welcoming them into your world. That's what you're doing. You're welcoming them into your world. You basically have complete control over who they say they are and what they ascribe to be. And that is the whole point of the sales call. You should have complete control from beginning to end. And if you want a full deep dive on all of this and you really want to understand the full mirrors framework to really 4x the amount of deals that you're closing, tap the link below and it'll bring you to a full training for you to watch so that you can start implementing this for yourself. The next piece is outline the dream. And the reason this is extremely important, people don't buy products, they buy better versions of themselves. Usually the part of the process where I would ask this is I would say, let's say we do help you. We give you the guidance, we give you the accountability and the systems to actually be able to do this. With that extra income coming in, how would things be any different? Or for you guys, I'll use an example for you guys so you understand this. Let's say I did give you the accountability and I gave you the exact system so that you could close 4 times more deals. How would that be any different for you than it is now? So things like that. You're just setting a contrast of where they are now and where they want to be and getting them to imagine that. And then you want to figure out who else benefits. So one, you can deepen this in terms of family, in terms of everything else, but how I like to do it in like a way that's non-salesy and not like overly pushy is after they tell you how things would be different, if they bring up anything about family, anything like that, you dig on that. But how you can bring it up if they don't is you say, okay, is this something that only changes things for you, or does it have a ripple effect among others around you? Generally, that opens it up to the point where they say, oh, yeah, well, my girlfriend, she's been wanting to go on trips. She's wanted a new car. We've been trying to buy a new house. There's all this different stuff that can open up. And in a weight loss example, it could be as simple as, oh, well, I will be able to be a better parent. And I'll ask, what does that mean, being a better parent? And all things like that. Whenever they ascribe an identity label, you want to dig into it. And the reason it's so powerful to dig into it is the more granular in the detail you get for the dream or the outcome that they want, the more they can picture it, the more they can feel themselves in that moment. And that's exactly what you want. So now that you have those two things, you ask, what would it feel like to have that be a reality day to day? So now you're tying from a tangible thing that they can actually feel, they can do, a physical thing they can be. Now you're tying an emotion to those things of how it would feel to finally be there, how it would feel to finally have that achievement. And the real kicker on this part, trust me, this is what takes it home is I understand where you want to go and I understand where you want to be. Tell me, like, once you get to that point, how would you describe yourself then versus how you describe yourself now? That is a major identity piece. If you get them to describe who they would be by that point or how they would describe that person, you're making them describe someone completely else. You're making them see that they are not the person that they want to be now. So that should drive that home for you guys. I hope that hit home, because when I was designing this and I came up with that, it was a really it was a completely different experience for me when I really truly understood how huge identity is in every aspect of sales and just in life. This process piece overall helps them to move from I need help to I want this future. I want to be that person, and it makes any offer you make unresistible, because if you get them to this point, you get them so emotionally high, you get them so logically high to where they say, I need to make a change. I absolutely cannot do this anymore. They will have no reason other than to act. The last piece is the risk of the future. The reason this is extremely important is it highlights the costs of inaction and it triggers urgency. So you built up all this urgency up here already. You built up that they're ready to make commitments in time for themselves. You built up who they want to become and how this change is going to benefit their life. But now we need to make them realize the consequences of staying the same, right? So what I do to get to that point is I say, oh, so that's how you would describe yourself. We know where you want to go. My hard question for you, if you had got this help maybe 6 or 12 months ago, you had got deeper help with this, where do you think you'd be today? And a lot of times they'll either say, oh, I'd already be at goal. I'd already be at the goal, or I'd already definitely be there, blah, blah, blah. Something like that. And then you say, oh, that's kind of our fork in the road. So my hard question for you again is, what happens if you don't make a change? You keep the same habits, the same lifestyle, and you keep going down this path that you have been. What does that future look like for you? Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, people a lot of times with consequence and like stuff like that, they just don't respond very well to it. Your tonality matters in this case. And how you make sure they respond well to it is you want to tie in things that they said above. So the different version of this that's not generic and templated is, what happens if you never become that father that you, and you keep doing these things that you have? What does that future look like for you? 2, 3 years. You get them to admit it. And if they still say, well, I won't let that happen, here's how you can avoid that. All you have to say is, with all due respect, you've been dealing with this for X years. You've been dealing with this for X months. It's been happening and it's continuing to happen. So what happens if you don't make a change and you continue to let this go on? What does that future look like for you? You double down, you lower your tone so you're more serious with them, and it puts them in that pocket where they have to be confronted with it, and they know you're not going to move until you get an answer. And that's how you should operate. You should not move to your pitch until you get the answers you need. After I get that initial piece, that surface level piece, where I go, what happens if nothing changes? They explain what happens if nothing changes. I ask them, are you up with that? Are you willing to settle for that? Is that something you'd be up with moving down the road? Something like that. And then after that, they could say, oh, absolutely not. That's why I'm on the call. Well, a ton of people come to calls and try and do like busy work, but they never actually do things consistently. So you tell me that future where you're not happy, you're not the father you want to be, you're not the man you want to be. Why is that not an option for you specifically? It's that simple, guys. Those are the three different phases that take everything to the next level and help you close more. And they're extremely quick and they're extremely efficient. And the thing is they are the highest impact questions and the highest impact phrases you could possibly implement into what you're doing. If I had one suggestion for you, my one suggestion for you is going to be either put in my version of risk of the future or put in the identity alignment. If you do either one of those, or even the outline the dream portion of things as well, you will increase your close rate. You will close more deals. I'm telling you, use them. And the big piece with risk of the future is you convert those abstract fears that they have into tangible risk. You make that reality of the what if they keep going down this road so real to them by asking them why they aren't willing to settle for it, by asking them, are you with that? And then asking them, why is that not an option for you? By you asking them those things, it grounds it in reality, like that I can't go down that path. I can't do that, especially after you just future pace them so far into being the person that they want to be. And that's why this is so powerful, is because identity is the strongest motivator that every single person has. It's the strongest motivator you can ever push on, because people's want to change. People's want to change and be better, be a better version of themselves or the best version of themselves, or how other people see them is extremely strong. And you might be thinking like, my sales aren't emotional. I want you to understand emotion sparks first. Logic only cements afterwards. People make the initial decision based on emotion, and after they make the decision, then at that point they will justify it with logic. But your goal should be to get them to an emotional high point, to the point where they can't logically believe that this wouldn't be the thing to get them there, because you've talked to them so well, you've understood them so well, and you've heard them. You helped them confront things that they've probably never been confronted about before. And that's what makes this process so strong. And it doesn't require a script, it just requires you really being present with someone. I want you guys to understand, like, I used to be stuck earning 3 to 4K a month, 17 million in cash collected, over 2 million in commission. And it's because I learned to align identity. I learned to outline people's dreams, and I learned to highlight the risk of doing nothing. If you want to close 2 to 4 times more deals, watch the short training I have linked below, or you can check it out here in terms of the lessons I learned from over 5,700 calls and why some of the mistakes may be costing you thousands every single month. Bye bye.